team showed up today? Obviously, a lot of chatter, 2 emotional weekends back to back here. Were you pleased with how they showed up today?
Yeah, I mean, I think approach-wise, good energy in the building yesterday. I wasn't around on Monday, and I don't know what the best plan is because the schedule varies when you get Sunday off, and then you got Mondays, kind of what it usually is for all college baseball players. But I was around yesterday, good energy in the building, and then today I think guys, were in here as early as ever, but just kind of kept it to what they needed, and then. When the game starts and you don't throw strikes, it puts everybody on their heels. But guys responded, and so overall, I think the approach was good. Maybe some guys a little more invested in the dugout, but no real complaints.
You feel like Bargo fared defensively?
Good. I thought he did really well. And we had some problems with the technology, but he caught well. And then we were going to need to, if a guy got on base, we're going to need to manage the game a little bit. And he's been there in big games, but I just didn't want it to be a conversation where it came down to one thing and we're like, we had Peebles there, his spot's not going to come up in the order. So we just went with the more experienced guy, but it's a long time coming. Coach E's been pressing for it. He's certainly prepared and capable, and it's good that we did it. And it'll happen again by the end of the year. And the biggest thing was not just him doing well defensively, but being that spark off the bench to kickstart an inning.
How big was Dylan after he came in there, a little bit of fire there in the first inning?
Yeah, it was outstanding. I think in a perfect world, you just kind of put him in a box of, hey, you're our guy that comes in and faces a couple lefties because he's done so well at it. We didn't start him just because Marcus didn't throw over the weekend. We wanted to give him a fair opportunity to take the ball and run with it. But Dylan's capable of going a lengthy amount of time, and it was probably time to get him out of there, but he gave us everything he had and looked really sharp doing it. And I'm hopeful it's a quick recovery so we can have him available for this weekend's games.
Aaron also came in at the end of the game with a little bit of jam, gets 2 big strikeouts. How big was that for him as well?
Yeah, that's kind of, in my opinion, it's his specialty, or at least he's been forced into kind of that role or boxed into that role of, hey, when we get in a jam, we need a guy that's not scared and is going to compete and will throw strikes, and Kirby fits that as well, but Combsy's done it since he's been on our campus, and I think it provides a good deal of confidence for him to be out there when you finish the game, regardless of the situation. He's done it a handful of times for us.
Is that the kind of thing you can't simulate? One of the things that no matter how much you practice or try to in scrimmages, it's just kind of hard to see if a guy has that.
Yeah, no chance, because and then the other thing, as far as the confidence you can take from it, if he doesn't throw tonight, there's no sense in staying out here. Tomorrow he probably get some work off the mound, so it'd be a little lighter and not quite as intense. But it's not going to simulate what he's going to be thrown into more than likely this coming weekend. So for him to get out there and do it, I think was good. I don't think we'd script the end of it the way we did. I mean, we left Kirby out there a little longer than maybe you game plan, but this time of year is survive and advance, and the more you can get in the heat of the fire and get repetitions at learning how to survive, the better you are as a team and as an individual as well.
What's the comfort level like when Dylan Dryling's up in a clutch moment? Does it seem like his heart rate ever gets above 50?
No, it's annoying because my heart rate's about as high as Frank's, and you can imagine what that is. To have a calming influence on the mound is big in those jam situations we're talking about, but it's equally as important in the box. And again, I think when some of these guys 1 through 9 are just pressing to do what they got to do to help us win the game, it's a fun lineup. But it's not a good enough lineup to have 2 or 3 spots just disappear on you. And, I'd have to watch tape and analyze it, but I've kind of picked up anytime that does happen, and we've been able to win some games in an ugly fashion when it does, but it's usually 2 or 3 guys start out the day maybe trying to do too much or something other than just win the game, and it boils into a big ball of frustration, and you end up with a spot where you don't get anything out of it. And again, we used examples here. Reese probably doesn't want me bringing up a strikeout, but that one just sticks out of an at-bat where he drained the pitcher. Cal Stark hits a homer behind him. That's a team effort in a weird way, probably a way the fans don't notice, but and Chris Burke, I think, is the one who was telling me this past weekend, hey, when he used to play the big leagues, the whole deal was just take a bite out of the pitcher, take a little piece of him with you, even if he does retire you.
Where you guys are at with the DH spot right now, would you like to have one guy to be able to roll with, or is it kind of something that y'all are happy to do and match up this?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think to go through this game is a challenge and at times frustrating, but it makes you better in the long run. And when you got to try different things and you slide Bargo back there, it makes you stronger in the end. Now it's easier. 2 years ago, when Trey Lipscomb's in the 5 slot every single day, and you guys could all go up to the office about halfway through the year and write out the lineup and tell us who's going to come in and what Sewell's going to be in this spot, Redmond's going to be in this spot. That's easier, and it probably makes you better to rack up wins. But what's better in the long run might be a little bit of a Rubik's Cube deal where, hey, we're constantly trying to figure out a few things with this team. So we've been able to win some games, we've been able to have success, but we have not found our best combination of really anything. I mean, I think defensively it's kind of sorted itself out, but again, Bargo kind of gets involved, and there you could even pick that apart. Base running has continued to improve, but we got guys that need to be pinch runners. And then the other two, the big ones, the pitching and the hitting, it's not even close to being like, okay, this is our final destination, let's see how good we can make it. So I think that's a good thing for this team.
Do you feel like you need to get to that final destination at some point before tournament play?
Yeah, probably. I was trying to think of something smart out to say. But yeah, I mean, you gotta get to whatever journey you start. There's got to be an end somewhere. So at some point, maybe we are there, but also a DH spot. If you have depth, is something that provides you flexibility that you can go with a matchup, or even just, hey, we think this guy versus the starter, we're gonna give him one at bat and see how it goes. And but they perform their best when they know what to expect when they come to the park. And they kind of know, Trey knew he was in that spot every day, but we don't have that. So you just need to be prepared. And when you get your opportunity, you certainly can't slide it, but you also can't make too much of it or it's going to turn into a mess. Just make it into a deal where you're trying to help us win.
Is there a reason why you think your team's been so successful against Vanderbilt the past couple seasons?
No, I mean, I tried to quote Marshawn and I screwed it up, but it could be football, it could be basketball. I mean, sometimes we beat Kentucky in basketball, and sometimes they beat us. And I could go on up and down the other sports. And you better be ready to take lumps in this league, no matter who you are. And then the cool thing about it is if you can, keep navigating through it or keep pushing forward. When you win, it's kind of they're the best wins in the world, regardless if they come on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, even a Thursday. If you can get one of those SEC wins under your belt. It feels like it's cause for bust out the champagne, but in our sport, it's get ready for the next day probably.
1 or 2 more guys.
Plus, no drinking for the college kids.
How do you handle being number 1 differently now than maybe in 2022?
I don't. Me and John Adams were having a good conversation. I mean, we both like movies. That's something that's voted on. It's voted on by very smart people that are doing their research, but it's voted on. And talked about Leonardo DiCaprio. How's that work out for his Oscar situation? So not fair if you ask me. So that's just my opinion. But he's doing just fine. Puts out good work. I'm pretty sure we'd all have fun hanging out with that guy. I know you and I aren't invited though.
No, we're not.
So yeah, I mean, and again, it's no disrespect. I've had a few of these where people throw out different stuff like Kentucky. I never said one thing about their team. I may have said something about art, but somebody go ahead and labeled that as a Kentucky comment and people thought it was cool, so that's great, but it's not what I said. So again, I'm not disparaging it at all, because again, there's people that it's their job and they do a hell of a job at it, so there's information accumulated there, but it is just something that's voted on, whereas opposed to the end of the SEC tournament, you'll find out who wins the SEC tournament in Hoover based off the competition, and then we're not similar to football, whereas if you're in that ranking, then you make that cutoff spot. So our goal is to get as good as we can get. The SEC tournament is a party like no other, but the best way to party is to win games. But ultimately for each of the SEC teams, we're trying to get 10, 11 teams in a regional every year, and each of those teams, like Mississippi when they won, knows, if they don't know, they're not very smart. This league has got them prepared as good as you can possibly be, and you go out and see what you can do. And a lot of teams in our league have had success.
What What have you noticed about Vandy while studying for other teams you have played so far this year?
Yeah, there's a lot of familiar faces because there's guys returning, and some of them are older, but there's also a lot of guys that they brought back that were younger, that were kind of platoon guys, or you saw here and there, that are now, the guys for them that are out there every day. They can always run. They're not afraid to involve different things with the offense. You're always going to see fancy arms, and I say that in a good way. Big prospecty arms. Some of the guys that we recruited. So that's kind of been their MO is big arms on the mound and athletes that are versatile, out in the field, and they have that very same thing this year in particular. And they've played very well at home. Again, I don't. I probably sound annoying when I talk about it, but I just don't look at stuff that I don't want to put energy into. But if it's loud enough, you kind of hear it, and I do know that they've been very strong at home. So that's certainly a strength of their team, as is most of the SEC.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, everybody. Any theories as to the slow start offensively? Obviously, a lot of chatter this week, emotional series.
I think just seeing, a different guy every inning is still tough. Obviously coming off a weekend where you have a starter who goes out there and throws 4, 5, 6 innings. It's just, you see different arms. So trying to get a groove out there. I'm also coming back home after being on the road. So maybe that had a little something to do with it. But we got it going when we needed to.
What's the confidence level like in Dreiling when he's in those kind of big time clutch moments?
I love him in those situations because I'm always on base, and so it's cool to see him at homer. But I mean, he's as composed as he can be, and he's gotten a lot better at those situations this year just compared to his freshman.
Christian, your barrel rate lately is probably just kind of astronomical. How many barrels you've hit recently?
I don't know what that means.
Like how many times you hit the ball flush?
Oh.
You're hitting it as clean as could be. Like,
Oh.
were there any mechanical tweaks or anything that have led to this sort of surge lately?
I mean, I spent a lot of time in this cage where we are now in the off season. Obviously, the year I had last year was decent in my opinion, but I always want to get better and try to improve. So just wanted to cut down on the strikeouts this year. So just try to work on that and hitting spin ball and staying at kind of my approach. And just also understanding what teams want to do to me as well. Last year I think I was just up there like I'm gonna hit what I want to get, but that's just not gonna happen. You're gonna have to hit what they throw you, so you better be able to adjust. So.
Is the adrenaline flow a little different when Vandy series is coming next?
I mean, obviously it's Vandy and in-state rival, and they've been a really good program for years on years now. But yeah, I mean, obviously I think it's just like every other SEC series. We try to go in there and get a win, and play our game no matter who we're playing.
Vandy's been struggling as of late. What's the challenge of going up against a team that's kind of hungry?
To be honest, I don't look much into it, whether they're struggling or not. Like I said, we want to win, and we're going to go out there and just play our game. Not really worried about what's going on in that dugout.
You haven't lost to them in your career, I'm pretty sure. Is that something you'd like to see continue?
If I do it, I do it. If I don't, I don't. It's all good. But hopefully we can just take 2.
Do you care about being ranked number 1?
I mean, it's cool. I think I was talking to Coach Q about this. My freshman year, I thought it was way more cool to be ranked number 1 than now. And I don't know why. I think because I'm playing and it's just a different perspective. But now you have a target on your back, which I think we've had, since I've been here, but it's an even bigger target. So just know you're going to get everyone's best and be ready to play.
How do you feel like the team overall, as a group, has handled that chatter this week and will handle it going forward?
I mean, I think in everyone's eyes, on this team at least, we're the best team in the country. I mean, you're not going to go out there and say we're not the best team in the country. So I guess now they just put a number there in front of it that proves it. But like I said, we're going to continue to work and just continue to win games. Try to.
You think it's beneficial having a lot of older guys on the team, leaders that were part of a number 1 team in the country before?
For sure. I mean, Blake and I, we kind of know how to handle it a little bit better, and we can talk to younger guys and help, guys like Billy and come from programs and Pete, stuff like that. But even KT as well. I mean, he was on that team too. So it's just trying to just stay humble and hungry. So.
Do you like it when people chirp at you?
Do I like it?
Does it get you going?
Yes. Since my freshman year, I think that was kind of like the stick on me. Like if you talk to me, like I'm going to use it just against you for my team. So I don't know why teams do it. Continue to do it. I don't know. Whatever. That's like I said. I don't really care what goes on in that dugout. But it's not going to be good for you.
Fire there in the first inning, just what was your mindset coming into that moment?
So basically, I mean, everyone on the team's family. So I know Marcus was out there, and those were his runs, and I was basically coming in to try to save his runs.
What was working so well for you over those 3.1 innings?
The slider location was working really well. The fastball was in and out on spots, but the slider was there this evening.
Where do you feel like you've improved the most over the course of the season?
Really just controlling my emotions throughout the game and not letting anything get too high and also not letting anything get too low.
You're a local kid, got to play extended innings for Tennessee baseball. Is that a cool moment for your baseball career so far?
Absolutely. One of the biggest things in my entire life, especially coming from a place around here, was being able to come and wear the balls on my chest. So being able to come out and throw was just a dream come true.
What were your expectations in your mind about your freshman season when you got here? Because obviously your numbers in high school were like a video game, but this is a different level of ball. What were your expectations?
Honestly, I knew that high school didn't matter at all after the season ended, and I knew that I was still going to have to sit there and grind to be able to come in here and throw a single pitch. And thankfully, the Lord has blessed me to be able to come in here and compete at a level that Tony V has trusted in me.
What was working with Frank been like?
Working with Frank's been a blast. I mean, he's one of the best in business for a reason.
How excited are you for this weekend? I imagine being a local kid, you are well aware of what this series means.
Yes, Vandy's obviously a big rival coming into it, and we've got some great guys on the team, so I believe we'll be able to go in and fight hard.
Your mindset any different at this point in SEC play now that you've got a couple of appearances under your belt compared to when y'all started conference play?
I would say just basically the same as any other outing. Just use your stuff and go out there and work and compete.
Anything else for Dylan? All right, thanks, Dylan.